on what's on campus. Like, not only did we talk about our campaign, but resources from like Dean of Students, the campus food pantry. I found it shocking when some people were like, huh, campus food pantry? I was like, what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, you never heard of that? It's so... Oh, I remember taking a student there because we were campaigning in the quad. I was like, here, let me take you to the campus food pantry. It's just 2-minute walk.
It'll change your life.
And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah. They're like, do I have to pay? I'm like, no, you just... I mean, some of these may require you to sign in or scan your student ID, but that's it. And they're like, oh.
Welcome to the Get a Student Life podcast, where we talk about all things student life and love telling student stories. I'm your host, Molly Ballison, and I'm here today with Isaac Celedon. So thanks for being on the podcast, Isaac.
Yeah, thanks, Molly. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so you're a second year, and I'm just blown away with how many things that you're involved with on campus. So can you start by telling us what some of those things are?
Yeah, so a couple of things I'm involved with is our student government, ASBSU. I'm currently the on-campus employee representative, but was just recently elected as our assembly leader.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I help them write bills, get them connected with campus, partners and departments to help create initiatives and appropriate student fee money. And I'm also the vice president of the Corral, so it's through our athletics. For student relations, just get freshmen involved. We run our freshman ambassador program, which we get first-year students primarily to get to the games, experience like the fun of either from football to soccer to volleyball to basketball, and kind of just spread that culture of what it's like to be a Bronco. And then another thing I'm involved with is the Student Philanthropy Board. We're mainly focused on raising awareness on how important advancement and philanthropy is on campus. And also students are able to apply for a grant for their initiative for something through for Student Philanthropy Board to hear. And then I'm also a Bronco ambassador, so it's a tour guide through the admissions office, fully volunteer. They give you these really cool windbreakers,
Nice.
So big perk. But yeah, and then another couple things I'm involved with is I'm a part of currently pledging for Delta Upsilon, a fraternity here on campus. It's an academic fraternity. And then I'm also part of, trying to remember the other couple
Just the list goes on and on.
Oh, the JED Campus Student Advisory Team. So that one's recently the university is an adopted JED campus. So they're dedicated to mental health, dedicated to, all right, what resources do we have currently, and how can we improve them to be more accessible to students, able to improve what we're already doing, or able to streamline efforts. And so they have a student advisory team in which we review what they're doing, and then we provide our student input and our student experiences, as well as reaching out to our either classmates or even friends and saying like, hey, like what struggles have you seen, whether it's been a really long wait period for counseling through the health services, or maybe there's not enough awareness on, hey, you can do a screening test to see if you have like anxiety, or if you need to see like a professional. So yeah, that's just some of the things I'm involved with.
Yeah, that's a lot. And so why are you involved in so many of those things?
Yeah, so last year when I was a first year, I was a commuter student. So I'm from Boise, Idaho. It's about, my parents live about 10, 15 minutes away from campus. And so when I decided not to live in on-campus housing, I would commute. And so I remember being in orientation, one of the things that they recommended was get involved. And so I got involved with our student government, got involved with the Bronco Ambassador program, and just started to reach out and understand what else could I get involved with. And so that's one thing I really wanted to emphasize my first year is do good in school, but also get involved, because that's how you meet friends. Mm-hmm. That's how you feel a part of campus. And so that's why I got super involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So how was that being a commuter student, and how did your involvement on campus impact that?
Yeah, being a commuter student was a little bit rough. I mean, granted, there's some commuter students who commute from Star, Idaho, from Nampa, from Caldwell. I've even heard a couple commute from Idaho City, which is insane. But I think one thing that, like, how my involvement impacted me was I felt a part of campus. I had a friend group here. I felt I had a foundation on campus, and even though sometimes I'd go home and people would be like, oh, let's all hang out. I'm like, okay, I'll be there in 20 minutes because they're all like in the dorm, so they can just walk 1 minute from Kaiser to Taylor. But being a part of involvements and having friends and seeing people who even were a commuter student, because some of them were older, and upperclassmen, so it really impacted me in just being involved all the time. And sometimes I'd be on campus all day when I didn't have classes, but for my involvements. And so that really, I felt like I was living on campus because I had a presence there already.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So of all the student organizations that you're a part of, which ones do you feel like you're most passionate about or put the most time towards?
Definitely ASBSU, our student government. I was always in student council in high school, but and at the time you would just plan like theme events at basketball games or football games. Not to say that wasn't important at the time, but when I came to college or to Boise State, I still had the intention that we'd be planning, okay, are we going to plan like a pink out for a football game? A little did I know that's already predetermined a year before. But so when I joined ASBSU, I was the commuter student representative my first year. And then just talking with people who've been in it for 1 year already, 2, 3, even the fourth year, and even the elected student body president or the other vice president positions, I realized like how like complex and how much room for growth or room for kind of a way to collaborate with campus and make it better for students currently and even prospective students. And so like for me, like I was always kind of ambitious in helping like my community. And so when I realized the amount of how do I say this? Like the amount of like ability to make change on campus that really like sparked something in me. And so I got super involved. I wanted to learn everything. Like I reached out to like heads of departments, whether it's from the Equity Center to Trump to Buckwalter to even the chief financial officer. Like one thing that was really key to me was to understand what is Boise State? Why are there challenges? What is the challenges? And there's challenges everywhere. Like some departments face different challenges, whether it's financial, and some face challenges because they want more student input or they are trying to understand how can they better students, but they don't want to make decisions that they think would be good, but some students may not be affected positively by it. And that's sometimes because, well, they're in admin or they're in these higher ups. Like how it's like in economics we learned it as the local knowledge problem. In economics, it means sometimes people at the higher ups have good intentions, make great decisions, but how could they? But the problem is on the local level, it could actually not be beneficial.
That's a good point.
But that's because they're not on the local level, if that makes sense. So, as a first year, I after about fall semester and then going in the middle way of spring, I decided to run for student body president. Really ambitious as a freshman, but I wanted to run because me and my running mate, his name is Zachary Jorsic, he's now a senior, but we were both passionate about making change. And one thing about leadership that I believe is if you're going to go into high leadership, my philosophy is if you have the ability to meet with the people who you'd work with you're going to go into that position, meet with student leaders who've been here who are seniors or juniors and have been here for 3 years, some even been here through COVID and understand that perspective. Like that was always super important to me. And so when I spent most of my free time understanding how the university works and how there's different approaches, I thought, you know what, I think hey Zach, let's run for student body president. We have so much collaboration, so much. I think we could commit to so many things and truly make change. I unfortunately did not win. The final result was 807 for me and Zach, and then 870 for Che and Jason, who are phenomenal people. And so even though we lost, I was passionate about that. That never tore me down. I was down for a little bit because a loss was something that on that level I've never experienced before. Because in student council, you've done for like senior president, and I mean that's important too. But this was because I had so much passion for it. I kind of just took a step back for about a week, and then got back up and said, you know what, the two people who were elected, they were campaigning the same thing that I wanted to do, and I still wanted to make change. There's still time to do stuff, to bring more input from what I've learned and from other people have learned, and time to see how new leadership's going to handle it. And so that's probably one of my most biggest passions is ASBSU.
That's awesome that you put yourself out there to run for a position that you're like, well, I might get it, I might not, but to put yourself out there anyway. Recently, a professor told me that there's no such thing as a failed interview, talking about like the interview aspect, and because you gain experience from that, and like even if you, so to speak, don't get the job, you still gained so much knowledge and so much experience to use for the next time. And in the same way for you applying for that leadership role. And it's great that you can still be in a leadership role, just in a different way. And in that, like, since you're a student in a leadership position, you can be an advocate for other students, which is a really inspiring thing to be able to do. Personally, how do you feel like you have impacted change on campus, whether it's through your position in ASBSU or your other involvements?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I think one of the answers to that question is spreading awareness. Like, even though I lost, one thing that I was still passionate about was spreading awareness on what's on campus. Like, not only did we talk about our campaign, but resources from, like, Dean of Students, the campus food pantry. I found it shocking when some people were like, campus food pantry? I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's like, you never heard of that? It's so... Oh, I remember taking a student there because we were campaigning in the quad. I was like, here, let me take you to the campus food pantry. It's a 2-minute walk.
It'll change your life.
And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah. They're like, do I have to pay? I'm like, no, you just, some of these may require you to sign in or scan your student ID, but that's it. And they're like, oh. And so definitely spreading awareness, definitely bringing awareness not only to students of the resources and support they have, but also awareness to people who were staff or in administration of what students cared about. And I think even like spreading that awareness to them helped them understand, like, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Or, okay, yeah, we do need more student input from here. We do need people from not just student government, but also students at large, or students who, like maybe a post-traditional student who has a way different experience. And so that's definitely one positive thing, like from one thing that I did definitely in my first year, was to spread awareness not only to students but also to staff and even some faculty.
Yeah, and that you yourself can be a resource of students going to you asking questions. I think it's awesome that even though you're in your second year, you still have so much knowledge about campus, and that comes from being involved in so many things. And so I'd love to hear how you balance all of these things, because I'm sure you have a full schedule being a full-time student and an employee, and putting your all into these student organizations. So how do you, I guess first question, how do you manage your time and balance all this?
I remember in orientation, my orientation leader was Adam Bridges. He was like, he says, my biggest tip of advice, Google Calendar. Google Calendar, Google Calendar, Google Calendar. And I was like, huh? I've never used a calendar before. I was always just used to, like, my mom texted me, hey, you have a doctor's appointment at 3 p.m. tomorrow. I'm going to pick you up. Okay. But when I was getting super involved at the time, at the beginning, I wasn't using a calendar. I'd write notes and stuff. But then I realized sometimes those notes would get lost. And sometimes I was like, okay, let's reassess here. What's the best way for me, because everyone has different ways of organizing, for me to organize myself to be successful? Google Calendar. That has probably saved my life so many times. And I set up reminders for a 10-minute reminder, 30-minute reminder, a day reminder, smart. A week reminder, because I'm like, okay, a week from now I have this essay coming up, for example. I'll do it for essays due. So I'm like, okay, I have 2 weeks, 1 week, 4 days, 3 days. Okay, now I need to actually start either wrapping it up or making final touches to it. And so for involvements, I block out the times for, like, for example, ASBSU joint meeting, maybe Bronco Ambassador Tour, like a Student Philanthropy Board, the Corral, what athletic events happening. And so sometimes there'd be overlap, but then sometimes that some things we get done early or some things we go overtime. And so my biggest thing is Google Calendar. I've also sought resources. So one resource that was really helpful was I went to the peer academic consultant in the SMASH building. And so I went for the topic of time management, because even though I was pretty organized, there were still some errors, because not everything's perfect, but I wanted to see a different perspective on how they fix those errors. Mm-hmm. And so like now I use, I forget her name, but she was showing me like that she uses Google Tasks. So it's like she puts it as a widget on her phone so she can see what's going on by each day, or what she needs to get done that day or even that week. My calendar was just all one color, just blue. So it was just big blue, just like a big blue splurges everywhere. And so she was like, whoa. She's like, my suggestion, if this would work for your brain, is she showed me her calendar. She does it color coded. So she says her maybe ITM class is green and her English 101 is blue. And so she could see and correlate, and also her notebooks would correlate with the colors. So that also helped her. I was like, huh. And so I started doing that. So I'd be like, maybe yellow is ASBSU, orange is anything involved with the Corral or athletics. Blue is like, I think I put blue as like the gym, or I put red as like big tasks, like, hey, doctor's appointment, hey, your critical essay exam is due Sunday. So then that actually helped my brain better understand, like, okay, because sometimes if a blue essay tab was due and like a blue like event, it would blend together. But color coding it made me see that, okay, red is like urgent, due this day. Orange is like an athletic event. So that's one way I organize myself. Also, discipline. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, my mom calls me the king of dilly-dallying because and I still will procrastinate sometimes. Like I'm not like
who doesn't?
Like I'm not perfect, but I think the cool thing about organizing yourself is, you know what, no one's perfect. Hey, if you're someone who has complete 100% discipline and you are on top of everything, good for you. I admire you.
Teach me.
yes, but even people who are organized, or people who find their ways to help them organize, there's always room for improvement. I thought I was organized, but when I reached out to that resource, to the peer academic consultant, helped me organize myself better. And there's still room to help myself organize better. And so my biggest piece of advice is organizing yourself really does help you. It sets those boundaries, and sometimes you're going to procrastinate. Sometimes you're going to feel tired today and be like, oh, I know I blocked 2 hours for homework, but I need to take a 30-minute nap.
Yeah.
Like, you come first. Your mental health comes first. School is also really important, and then family and friends. But when you organize yourself, it really helps you, especially like for me, helps my brain, like, okay, like understand what's coming next, what's on my priorities, what's going to help me, and focusing on what's coming up next and what's going to be in the future, which then prepares you for less procrastination in my case. Like I know an essay is coming up, so my brain, and getting those like 1 week from now or 2 weeks from now, it actually helps me less procrastinate, because I'm like, okay, maybe I'm going to look at the rubric and see what the essay is supposed to be about, as opposed to 2 days before I'm like, okay, what's this essay about, so.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Big fan of the color coding for sure. I might have to jump on the Google Calendar side of things, because I just keep my stuff in a spreadsheet. But then it's easy to, forget about it, or be like, I'm not going to look at that spreadsheet today. So yeah, that's really good advice. And being disciplined in how you spend your time, disciplined in like caring for yourself, and like what your priorities are. Yeah, that's just really good advice for students.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to know how you found out about getting involved in all the student organizations you're involved in, and how can other students find things to be involved in? Yeah,
my case was orientation leader, but the more I sought resources from Get Involved, and that huge, it's a paper sheet of like the 200 plus clubs and organizations.
That's so many.
Yeah, it's overwhelming. Especially like as a first year, when you're coming here, you're like, oh, I already have so much things to worry about of either moving in and so maybe you're just like, forget about it. I'll just shove it underneath the packet of papers I was given. But as and even then, like as I was progressing through my first year and even getting prepped for my second year, one resource I always saw was actually reaching out to get involved. Like, they have a lot of staff who are dedicated to helping students understand what they maybe, like, hey, there's some, if you're interested in this, there's some clubs that fit what you're interested in. You could honestly, one time I walked in to get involved and I was like, hey, like, is there something that relating to like, what was I interested in? Oh, I was wondering is there something related to, like, a commuter club? Like, I was like, is that a thing? Like, I don't remember them talking about orientation. And so I remember walking in, and at the time they didn't have it on the sheet. However, there were students who were creating the constitution for their club. And so that was in the pre-planning. And so they connected me with the president. Her name was Caitlin Vasco. And I reached out and said, hey, and then went to their meetings to help create their constitution and help them get started. And now the commuter club's now a thing. And so definitely reach out. Everyone here, I have not met in all my meetings, which has been so many, but in all my meetings there's not been one person, staff or faculty, that isn't here to help students. Like, they're all here to help students. They all are here because they care. And if people don't care, they usually don't last long in their specific position, but everyone's here to support students. Everyone's here. They're here for you, right? That's the university message for mental health, here for you. They truly are here for you. And so reach out. Even faculty. I know for people who are new or people who maybe they're like, what department should I reach out to first? That can be also overwhelming. Reaching out to your faculty or your professor is also another tip of advice, because say, hey, professor, for example, Professor Hunt, my name's Isaac. I'm wanting to get involved, but I'm kind of a little overwhelmed on, like, who to reach out to. Guarantee you they have a connection in some department or some office, or they know someone who they'll probably CC them, say, hey, this is Erin Mon, the director of the Student Involvement Leadership Center. She can set the time with you to help you get involved. And so, yeah. Yeah,
that's a really good thing to ask. Just ask a question, even if you don't really know what questions to ask or know what you're looking for. Just talking to somebody about it, whether it's faculty or other students that are involved in things. And it's just helpful to know that Boise State has so many resources that are here to help students and are easy to access. You mentioned the Student Involvement Center. Can you tell us where to find the Student Involvement Center?
Yeah, so the Student Involvement Leadership Center, or some people call it SILK. Apparently they don't like it when it's called SILK.
Okay, good to know.
I call it SILK. I've definitely given a tour and said, this is the SILK office or Student Involvement Leadership Center. And some people, and they're like, no, Isaac, no, we don't like that word. We'd rather have you call it the Leadership Center.
Okay, good to know. The Leadership Center.
It's in the Student Union building. If you know where Buster's Kitchen is, but if you don't, if you go, if you're heading from Lincoln Garage area and you're going through the Bronco shop, if you just go through the Bronco shop to where you see Starbucks, go to the right, and then when you see, like, Tropical City and the sushi place and Subway, go to the right of that where Subway's on your right. So you're going down that hallway, and then you'll start seeing Buster's Kitchen, like the windows and the seeing into it, the glass panes and the seeing into the kitchen, or the dining area. There'll be a staircase. You walk up the staircase, it'll literally be right there. It'll say Student Involvement Leadership Center. And then there's always someone at the front desk. You just walk in and say hello, and then someone will be like, yeah, hey, how can we help you? And then be like, my name is Isaac Celedon. I want to get involved. How do I approach this, or how do I navigate? And then they'll
that's great.
You.
So just wander up to the second floor of the Student Union building.
Yep.
And if students look on Engage too, they have like Boise State Engage. There are just all of the clubs listed, and you can just scroll through there for a long time, just looking at what interests you too.
Yeah.
And you mentioned asking about a student or a commuter student club, and how students can start their own clubs if there's like, hey, I feel like students would benefit from having this group of people, but I don't see it. Like you mentioned, do you know a little bit about that process? Yeah,
actually my roommate, he's starting a powerlifting club.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so he's trying to, like, what he's doing, or I suggest to him, is like with that type of club, like, and I also tell us to, even my commuter club, is reach out to resources like there's like, you could create partnerships or get people involved to where it can help your club be more better and accessible to people. So right now, in order to start a club, I believe, I'm not completely familiar with the process, but from what I've understood, you reach out. There's a person whose job is dedicated to helping student clubs and organizations get either renewed or even getting them started. You have to have at least a group of, I think it's about 3 to 5 people, because you need like a president and officers, because when you're a club, you can apply for grants for money, whether it's for an event or even some certain materials that you want for your club or even promotional stuff. So you have to have like officers and like a president or the person who's in charge. And then once you email they'll send you the information. You have to make a brief constitution. It's just about like, what's the role of the president? What's the role of the officers? It's pretty short. They can help you through it. And then you submit it, and then it's approved through, I believe, the funding board, through ASBSU. And then they'll email you saying, hey, congrats to the commuter club. Reach out to students. Here's some resources. Here's how we can help you. You can be now part of the involvement fairs. And you can tell about orientation and stuff like that. So that's kind of the process.
Yeah, that's awesome. It sounds very simple for any student to be able to do if they have the passion to start the club and the resources which the Student Involvement Center can help with.
Yeah.
So to kind of wrap up our conversation here, what advice would you give to students who are looking for belonging on campus?
My advice, 2 words: get involved. Because the minute you put your foot in that door, the get involved door, you'll realize how much support, resources, and friends that are there right as you open that door, truly. Like, getting involved is what brought me here today. Getting involved helped me understand, hey, there's people who can help you with time management. Hey, there's people who can help you with understanding your classes. There's academic advising. The Writing Center. Oh my gosh, I've used the Writing Center before. The Mathematics Center has tutoring. Like, getting involved can open so many doors. And even and getting involved can also be clubs, not just clubs and organizations, but get involved with like your professor and the fact, like saying, like, reach out to them saying, hey, you know what, as a freshman, sometimes those UF 100 lectures are pretty big, or if there's like my Econ 202 class, I think there's it's in Skaggs Hall, so that's the biggest lecture hall in the university. So it's about, I want to say 140 students. Is that intimidating to some people? Of course. How could it not be? Especially when some people are used to the 30 class size, because they're either coming from high school or even some people were homeschooled. Get involved, reach out to your professor and like say, hey, my name is Isaac, or hi Professor blank, my name is Isaac. I'm from Fort Collins, Colorado. I'm undeclared, or I'm pre-business. I'm excited to be here. I'm happy to be here at Boise State. How could I get involved? Or like, hey, I'm passionate. If you tell them what you're passionate about, say like, I'm passionate about being involved and having a group of friends who we can work together to help students. Oh, you're gonna have a professor say, hey, hi Isaac, thank you for your response. So happy that you're in my class. I really admire that you're passionate about advocating for students. Are you aware of ASBSU? Are you aware of this program that is solely dedicated to helping students, whether it's at our campus or even programs that help build houses in like for example, like Jamaica? Like there's so many, like getting involved opens so many doors.
It's true.
So that's my biggest piece of advice. And definitely don't overwhelm yourself. You don't have to be me where you're involved with every single thing on campus, but get involved to where this is your home, because it is your home. The minute you got that acceptance letter here, or the minute that you transferred from here and got accepted, that was your home. Like obviously I know you have a home with your family, but Boise State is your home. You're part of Bronco Nation. Your family's now part of Bronco Nation. Your sister, your brother, your aunt, your cousins, they're all part of Bronco Nation because of you, because this is your home. And I tell that to people all the time. And because this is your home, we're here for you. Get involved. There's resources to help you be successful.
Yeah, that's really encouraging. So thank you for that advice, and it's just so good to know that the more students like get plugged in, the more connections they can have, and then the more doors that are open to them, and it's just a cycle that just keeps growing as the longer you spend your time here. And so I'm glad that you're involved in so many things and are able to help other students get involved and impact change around campus. And so thank you for what you do on campus. I really appreciate it. And I think this conversation will be really helpful to a lot of students. So yeah, encouragement for students listening. Like Isaac said, get involved. That's all you need to remember if you're looking for belonging on campus. And don't be afraid to reach out to faculty, any of the resources like Student Involvement Center on campus, any advisors, and students that you see around, maybe sporting like the Boise Windbreakers.
Exactly.
You might see Isaac around.
Bronco Ambassador
you
Program.
see him, ask him questions. So yeah, that'd be my encouragement for students based off of what you said. And so thank you, Isaac, for being on the podcast today and sharing all that great advice. And our advice to you students is to get involved. And if you have a friend that's looking to get involved, share this episode with them. We also have an article on the Student Life blog called What I Wish I Would Have Known About Getting Involved that I'd highly recommend. Thank you, Albertsons Library, for letting us use the sound studio to record. And thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next time on the Get a Student Life podcast.